to post 2. Okay, what is post 2? Post 2 is going to be using the forget operation because the right-hand side of line 2 does not refer to the left-hand side. 0 is a constant, and constants never refer to a variable. So we forget whatever is in pre-2 that mentions anything about the variable being changed on that line, which is y in this case. And after that, we know y equals to 0. So if you work out the math here, it's pretty easy because pre-2 is just x is less than or equal to 0, does not mention y at all. We get to keep the whole thing, and then y becomes 0. Right? Have we seen any pre and post condition that is false at this point? No. So that means this branch here on line 2 is live because its precondition is not false. Okay? It's not true either. It's not always that we will get to it, but in some cases we will get to it. Okay, so we look at pre-4 here. Okay, what is pre-4? Now we have never really think about this in pre and post conditions in a multi-branch conditional statement. Can we say that pre-1 still has to be true in pre-4? In other words, we are just about to execute line 4. Do we know that pre-1 still has to be true? Because we haven't had a chance to change anything, right? If I did not have a chance to change anything, then the precondition before this entire thing still has to be true. So that's fine. What else do we know?
Post 2 has to be false.
X is less than or equal to 0 has to be false. Well, this is a multi-branch conditional statement. I will not get to line 3 or even line 4 unless the condition of line 1 is false to begin with. Is that making any sense? Okay. So instead of saying the obvious, I would just use the negation because that's exactly what it is doing. I'm negating the condition on line 1 because if that is true, I would have executed line 2 instead of going to line 4. What else do we know? Well, we also know that x has to be less than 0, don't we? If I'm about to execute line 4, it means the condition right before that statement has to be true. So in this case, it is x is less than 0. Okay, so we expand this whole thing. Pre-1 is true. Not x is less than or equal to 0 is just a long way of saying x is greater than 0, and x is less than 0. And the true goes away because of the simplification. We have x is greater than 0 and x is less than 0. And what is that?
Dead branch.
It is a false. Okay. Well, we know it is a dead branch because the precondition of line 4 is false. Okay, so this is worth noting because comment, okay, when a line has a precondition of false, then it is a part of a dead branch, which means it is not reachable. We can never get to this line because its precondition is simply false. Under no circumstances can we get to this line. Okay. Now, but what about the other one? What about line 6? Because just because we have one dead branch doesn't mean that everything following that has to be a dead branch. Well, let's try to figure that out. Okay. So we are now dealing with pre-6. Pre-6 means pre-1 has to be true because at this point I have not had a chance to change anything. And what? Not x is less than or equal to 0, because if x was less than or equal to 0, I would have executed line 2 already. Does it make sense? And also not x is less than 0, because if that is the case, I would have executed line 4. Well, I mean, we cannot actually have one and also the other one, but it's okay. We can write this. Okay. So now it is time to simplify the whole thing, and we get about 4 minutes left. We got lots of time. True, and x. It is not the case that x is less than or equal to 0. A better way to say that is just to say x is greater than 0, right? Okay, and then here we have not x is less than 0. The other way to say is x is greater than or equal to 0. Does that make any sense? Okay. And the true goes away. We have x is greater than 0 and x is greater than or equal to 0. Okay. How do we simplify this? We know 1 can go away. Which one? X is greater than 0 is the one that is left. We can get rid of the more general one. We keep the more restrictive one, because it is a conjunction. Okay? So knowing that pre-6 is not false means that line 6 is not a dead branch. Okay, we can get to that line as long as x is greater than 0 to begin with. We will get to line 6. So just for completeness, sake, we will go figure out what is post 6. Post 6 is going to be based on the forget rule again, because the right-hand side does not refer to the left-hand side. So we say it is based on the forget operation of pre-6. And after that, we know y equals to 2. So if you just work this out by expanding pre-6, pre-6 is simply to say that x is greater than 0. Oh, what are we forgetting in it? We are forgetting anything that mentions y, because y is the variable on the left-hand side that is being changed. But since x is greater than 0 does not mention y at all, we get to keep the whole thing. And that becomes the post condition of line 6. Now, since we have 2 minutes and 30 seconds left, we actually can go ahead and figure out what is post 7. Post 7 is just the OR of all the post conditions. So it becomes the post condition of line 2, or the post condition of line 4, or the post condition of line 6. But Tech, you just said that line 4 is a dead branch. Well, it doesn't matter. We can just do this, and you will see that it really does not affect the result of the derivation. Post 2 is this mess here. And post 4 is false. And then post 6 is this mess here. I'm looking at the watch because I want to be very accurate about the time. And we have about 1 minute and 30 seconds left. Okay, so can we simplify this a little bit? Can we get rid of the false here? Okay, anything or false is that anything. It's just like 1 plus 0 is 1, 5 plus 0 is 5, x plus 0 is x. In other words, 0 is the identity with respect to the addition operator, and the same thing about false, it is the identity of disjunction. So now we can simplify this whole thing, copy and paste, just get rid of this part here, and we are done with 55 seconds to spare. Okay, this is what happens when I have a watch that is synchronized to the atomic clock. All right, so I'm going to save this document. Okay, so this document will be saved on Moodle right away. So you guys have access to this right away. The other part, the live recording, will be accessible sometime tonight because that takes time to convert.
And how do you find it? You'll have a hyperlink on Moodle?
Sorry?
You have a hyperlink on Moodle to reach the screen?
I will post one when I'm done with it.
Yeah.
Yep. But it takes some time to